Make it happen. So what's good? It's Friday. It's lit. I'm just talking to my boy right here.
Add 6 months to the sentence. Don't matter. I'm prove a point.
Oh, well, do you know what's going to happen? He did it. That's what they're going to say. He did it, officer. Him right there.
That's what I've been saying. I get into fights and everyone looks at me and says, yo, he had the knife.
He did it.
Well, welcome to prison. Welcome to prison. Enjoy your sentence. Guy's just Bobby Shmurda, man. He's successful, just trying to have a good time. Yes, he's, you know, there's a big thing, you know, it's the company you keep. So if you're chilling with guys who got guns and drugs, you know, you also got to think and ask yourself, is that the crew I want to be with? Or do I want to be chilling with the guys that got spreadsheets and companies? That's probably a better crew. But, you know, if you're not from that kind of life, then you don't have much of a choice anyway.
Yes, I'm trying to break into finance. I'm actually doing engineering right now. Kind of curious, if you could go back, start all over again, what would you do in finance, like career goals?
I would not be in finance.
No?
No.
Would you start out in the hedge fund, or
No.
would you change that up?
I think it'd be a terrible idea.
You'd probably not.
Leave a message after the tone.
Hey, Justin, do you think it's funny to call my phone number and pretend you're Papa John's Pizza? You know that's actually criminal behavior? You're soliciting under a false pretense. That's actually a criminal behavior where you can be prosecuted for 2 years. You didn't think I could find out your number, Justin? Huh? Yeah.
I don't think you have Justin on the phone.
No, not you, idiot. It's the guy I'm on voicemail. Call me back, Justin. Call me back. I want to get to know you a little bit better. Sorry about that. Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of finance anymore. I think,
What would you do starting out if you could start all over again?
I would find inefficient markets and start businesses that take advantage of them.
What do you think about cryptocurrencies in general? Because I've
Waste of time.
looked into some of the. I'm sorry?
Waste of time.
Waste of time, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of the technology coming out of it could be useful for banking maybe in the future, but I don't know.
Like I said, do something that's a lot of people will be really valuable. Will find it really valuable.
I was considering trying to become an analyst for like private equity or investment banking, just because like you're working with other people's money. Do you like have a suggestion on which one you think would be more lucrative?
If you want to be poor, that sounds like a great avenue.
I'm sorry, you said it again.
If you want to be poor, that sounds like a great avenue for you.
How would you suggest getting rich? Just arbitrage and finding inefficient markets, I guess?
Starting amazing businesses that command a lot of value.
Yeah, I guess that was a logical step. Well, I'll be working on that. Thanks for the advice, man. Take it easy.
We're actually wondering if you actually have any money left, or if you've been banned from trading and you're just going broke slowly.
No, I have more money than I've ever had before, actually.
Really? So what have your businesses been going into lately? What have you been working on?
Yeah, so I mean, my pharmaceutical investments have done exceptionally well. Price increases tend to do that. Doctors don't prescribe drugs based on Huffington Post or Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. They don't sit there and say, dying patient, what do I do? Let me look up the guy and see if I like him first before saving this patient's life. That calculus doesn't take place.
So you're not banned from trading right now?
So nobody is ever banned from trading. That concept doesn't exist even remotely. You can be banned from being a director or an officer of a public company, but I've never heard in my life, and nor have my lawyers, of the concept of being banned from trading. Do you know what that? I've never heard of that. Do you know anyone who's ever been banned from trading?
The rumors that have been going around,
But it's not a thing.
they're not true.
You can't be banned from trading. It's not a thing.
All right, so that's great.
And
That's
then
the
finally,
only question I'll let you get
none
that
of
for callers.
I don't have any expenses either. All of my legal expenses are insured by my
You're living
company.
here in New York?
Yep.
Ah, nice. Where are you at right now? I'm in Brownsville right now.
I'm in Midtown.
Ah, nice. You're lucky.
Well, obviously you spent a good chunk of your life, studying this topic and made tons of money off it. I don't expect, anyone here or me or anyone to learn these topics in, a span of a few hours.
For sure.
I just wanted to know if you had additional resources you would recommend for us to, expand on the topics you've been teaching.
I think if you sit,
essentially give us homework.
if you sit and play with the SEC website and Excel, and you just sit and look at every big major company, all 10Ks, if you listen to, conference calls, read press releases, after about 5 years, you'll you'll end up getting, I think, pretty knowledgeable in business. Even if you're not a great investor, there's still some value to that. There's still a lot of value to being an expert in an industry. So all you have to do is sit there, read SEC filings, and you can actually get a job, at being kind of expert in an industry. And I think that's, the guy was talking about technical analysis earlier. Most of the time, people aren't going to give you a job saying, well, if you draw this line compared to that line, and I think the stock's going to go up, because you kind of seem like an idiot when you do that. But
yeah, I totally get it, man.
You can actually get a job saying, hi, I'm an expert in software companies. And I can tell you all about IBM software and SAP software and Oracle software. I've learned everything about it, and people actually pay for that, pay you a lot of money to be a software analyst. You may not be a great investor, but maybe you could partner with a great investor, and then over time you can
right. It's funny that the guy talking about technical analysis came on a little bit earlier, because one of my TAs, because I'm in computer engineering, he was like, oh yeah, you should develop programs to mess around with technical analysis. You make tons of money at a hedge fund, and like do a little bit more research. And I found that I like your method of investing a little bit more. I'm not entirely certain how I want to apply my knowledge to it just yet, but it's just interesting.
This idiot keeps calling me. What do you want, moron?
What's up?
Why do you keep calling me?
Martin Shkreli?
Why do you keep calling me? Do you know what the repercussions of your actions are? Do you know it would be a mistake to call me over and over again?
You're a pretty awesome dude. I just wanted to let you know.
So you feel the need to call me over and over and over again?
I have a shot to talk to you, dude.
Do you want to talk to the police too? Because I can get to the phone.
I was just trying to get a hold of you, man.
Well, don't try to get a hold of me. Leave me the phone.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm from Brooklyn. I can't be stopped. Can't be stopped. I'm in the zone. No calls. I'm in the fucking zone. No calls. Okay. Done being in the zone. Hello? I can't even press now because my fingers are just too hard. I'm breaking the iPhone.
What's the hardest part about investing is having the discipline to do it. You always want to take more risk than you should. You always want to make more investments than you should. You never want to be market neutral. There's so many little things that if you just kind of follow the rules, which are mostly just avoiding temptation, you end up doing great. And you don't have to be a genius. A lot of this stuff's jumps off the page. Doesn't require that much thinking. I mean, you look at the market cap. So I guess one thing I didn't mention here. Let me give you an example. Just look at the market caps of these companies. So you can't take the market cap of Bayer and Pfizer because these are huge companies. They got all kinds of other products. But if you took the market caps if you had one company that had all the factor 8 proteins, factor 9 proteins, it would probably be, I don't know, $9-10 billion of high margin revenue is probably worth $100 billion, let's just say. It'd be a $100 billion company. Now, what's the market cap of these companies combined? So let's do that real quick. ONCE is $3 billion. I want to say 2.7 billion. Unicure is 200 million. Okay, 200 million. Sangamo is 800 million. And BioMarin's tricky because BioMarin is got a lot of drugs, but even you said half of it, or half of it is because of their new drug, which I don't think is right. That's maybe a third of it. Let's say a third of it. The total here is 5 and 7, 8. Roughly 8 billion, right? And so this $100 billion business is about to be replaced by these 4 companies, right? And it's only worth 8 billion. So what I do, I bought them all. I don't know which one of these guys is going to win, but all I know is if I own these 4, this 8 billion will become 100 billion, and where my share of that is going to be smaller. I don't own all of these companies and own tiny pieces of them, but let's say 8 million could become 100 million. Or maybe for you, the right investment size is 8,000, could become 100,000. Or 80,000 could become add 2 zeros, right? So 80,000 become 8 million. So it's about a 15x proposition. And again, the number's a little funky because of 𝗙𝗏. I actually think it's going to be a bigger business because usually I think it'll be closer to $200 billion business because it's currently a $100 billion business, but these drugs suck. You got to take an IV, usually they do it right here, 3 times a week you do your own IV. I mean, you couldn't come up with a worse drug. And it saves your life, but once you have the cure, I would say 200 billion. So 8 billion to become 200 billion, or 8 million to become 200 million, or 4 million to become 100 million. Either way, it's could be as much as a 50x. So really, really crazy and cool opportunity here. And again, the point being is this isn't hard to understand. I don't think. In fact, I'm a little late to it. 𝗙𝗏, all these companies figured this out 5 years ago when they started this stuff. Right? They said maybe we can do this. Right? I'm just watching it go by. So a lot of times investing is about process. And it's not about expensive software like Bloomberg. I only use this because I'm so used to it. I've used it since I was 17. You can use any software. You can use SEC's software. It's free. You find good software that's very convenient and you want to pay for it, great. But I don't think there's anything on Bloomberg that's any better or worse than anywhere else. And it just takes paying attention to it. You just have to be there. Woody Allen always said, showing up is 90% of the battle. I mean, that's really it. So just not ignoring, these companies is all I needed to do. Do a couple quick math. It's all arithmetic. It's not too hard. So anyway, I think if you follow the principles, now again, you can't put your whole portfolio in one of those stocks. You're going to lose all your money. Something could happen. Even this general hypothesis could be wrong. That could be totally wrong. Maybe these drugs won't work, But again, I 8% of the portfolio in it, I'll live. 80% of the portfolio, you don't live. That's how you lose. So anyway, let me just upload this.
The FDA is, in my eyes, probably the best run government agency there is. They actually are one of the few government agencies that actually brings in some revenue. They spend, I think, more than they bring in, but they actually charge drug companies fees. I've paid a lot of these fees to review drugs and whatnot. And they actually do, I think, a really good job. If you submit a life-saving cancer drug to the FDA, they'll approve it. FDA will approve it for sale. If it's really a remarkable medicine, 3, 4, 5 months. I mean, they fast track it to the point where all eyes are on it. They want lives saved. If you're trying to get a pain drug approved that is like the 95th pain drug for osteoporosis, FDA kind of says, look, man, this isn't as important as the cancer drug, and we're just not that excited about it. So from the drug perspective, forget the food perspective for a second, just the pharmaceuticals perspective, they do a very good job, and they're very stringent. I will say that. I mean, they're very, very, very stringent. They don't like drugs from other countries. They don't like poorly designed drugs. They're very sensitive about making sure your drug works and is safe and is carefully made. And all that's pretty important, I'd say, because they've learned over time. When 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗓 killed, lots of people and malformed all these babies, they said, we got to make sure, that's when the FDA was kind of born. So we got to make sure that these drugs actually work and that, people should be free, no doubt, but drug companies can't be predators, right? They can't sell snake oil. They can't sit there and say, oh, this is the fountain of youth. This will make you better, et cetera, et cetera. People are stupid. People will believe it. And you'll have a lot of bad behavior that goes on. And you need somebody to say, no, this has passed a standard that, is the gold standard. And doctors say, no, this passed the gold standard. I'm willing to use the gold standard. And really, at the end of the day, that's why doctors use the FDA as a nothing more than a gold standard. You could always make a supplement, quote unquote supplement, that doesn't have data that it works. And when that happens, supplements don't sell nearly as well as pharmaceuticals. So there's all these unregulated supplements out there. They're barely regulated, I'd say. and the FDA lets them go, but on the bottom it has to say this has not been approved by the FDA, and that's how a doctor knows that it's garbage. So I think the FDA does a really, really good job. I don't see any reason why they should be abolished, or I don't see any benefit that would come from that.
Hello?
Hi, Martin.
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's a drug question.
Sure.
All right. Tell us about what is like the best drug or the most helpful drug with the worst side effects.
There's a lot of drugs like that. I mean, there's bone marrow transplant comes to mind. Could be a cure. It's also fatal for many patients.
Really?
Sure. You have to
So you
replace
just have,
replace
you
your
don't have a choice. You just have to do it.
more or less if you have certain cancers or other illnesses.
Wow. What would be the worst disease that somebody could get, do you think?
I think spinal muscular atrophy is horrific. Most patients die within 12 months or 18 months of life.
Good.
It's disease I've worked on pretty carefully.
Do people ever contact you and thank you for your drugs?
Yeah, actually. I developed the first investigational agent for pantothenic kinase associated neurodegeneration, and I hear from families all the time.
And how did you even learn about all this stuff?
Well, Dr. 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗀, who's pediatric nephrologist at NYU, says that I'm an autodidact, which means that I'm self-taught.
Right.
I love science and medicine, and it just comes easy for me, I guess.
And how do you decide what diseases you want to go after?
I try to focus on the most severe illnesses, but I also try to focus on the easiest ones, because making new medicines is pretty hard. And,
Right.
If you can take some complexity out of the situation, that's nice. If you look at illnesses like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, they have more profound human impact, but they're also inscrutable from a kind of pharmacological perspective. It's not easy to understand what's going on in a patient with Alzheimer's or, say, schizophrenia or whatever. And it's much easier in a disease like PCAN or FSGS or some illness that, you can really wrap your head around. So I'd like to focus on illnesses like that, but they're hopefully, they're still very severe illnesses, so that I'm making as much of an impact as possible.
And what diseases are sort of, I don't want to say over-researched, but maybe a lot of resources are going towards them, and it's, I don't know, maybe not necessary, or maybe it's, it could be diverted to something else?
Well, that's a hard call to make. I mean, there's no person's suffering is, if you're a patient with that illness, there's never enough resources,
Right.
But we're sort of turning the page on a lot of illnesses, like I mean, it's hard to say without. I tend to not sort of look down on other illnesses, but
Right.
It's just because it's such one person's.
Well, it's all bad. I mean,
Yeah, one person's one person's back pain can be as bad as somebody else's, leukemia, as crazy as that sounds.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I just wanted to ask you a real question.
Sure. Nice talking to you.
All right. Happy New Year.
You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.